Have you been looking for a Taekwondo podcast with qualified people who know what they're talking about, who help you keep up with everything going on in the Taekwondo world? Well, you found it. This is the Taekwondo Podcast. Taekwondo news, competitions and other events, training and sports science, keeping the fans, coaches, and high-performance athletes up to date with the latest news and trends on Olympic Taekwondo. Let's do this. This is the Taekwondo Podcast. And now your hosts, Coach César Valentim and Peter Nestler.
Hello and welcome to the Taekwondo Podcast. We're a podcast based out of Austria in English language for everyone out there who likes Taekwondo. In this episode, we talk about the new competition rules as these were tested at the Spanish Open. Welcome to our podcast. I'm Coach César Valentim, and with me is Coach Peter Nestler. Hi Peter, how are you?
Hi César, I'm quite fine. Nice to be back again. What is today's topics?
Well, since we had the competition in Spain and also in Belgium with the new rules, at least some of the application of the new rules, it was interesting for us to discuss them because the first episodes were about what we read. And now it's after we've seen it, we've noticed that the writing was not exactly the most accurate one. It has been a while since we sat together, but we had some interesting guests in the previous episodes and we had a couple of busy months with many events. What do you think about the new season so far?
Well, at the moment I'm happy that we don't have too many cancelled events so that the calendar stays like it is. It's quite tight, but that's good for all teams to prepare for the big events. We will still need a little more practicing for the referees and the coaches and the athletes as well for the new rules, but I think it was a good step to sharpen those rules, and let's see how it develops in the next months.
I'm pretty sure that the new rules will be changed again before they are introduced after June, after the Continental Championships. We're gonna go over the new rules a little bit later in the second part. The European Championships registration is closing in the next few days, and we pretty much have seen the players who are competing in Manchester and the other Continental Championships. Not too many newcomers yet. What do you think?
I think that many of the teams don't want to have any experiments, so they take the teams they always had. They even some athletes are back, and so you're fully right. Not many newcomers at the moment, but I think it's just a matter of all the situation with COVID and difficult situation politically, and we will see newcomers starting next year, in my opinion.
Yeah, COVID was a situation. Most of the tournaments had prevention concepts. Some had none, like in Belgium, because the country regulations went out. And we know, even though it's not too much out there, we've known that a lot of teams had positive cases, especially after Albania, after Sofia, after Belgium. A lot of people, including officials, WTO officials and coaches and teams from all around the world, got positive with these new variants. But that didn't stop the events from happening. Spain was a very big event as well, and we had a lot of good athletes competing. And of course, the big elephant in the room, we don't see Russia, we don't see too many Ukrainian players except the ones who managed to get away from the country. They are not competing. That also makes the Grand Prix registrations quite interesting. We've seen the pre-registration list with 72 players to be able to register for the competitions. And when we look at them, of course, since there's only 2 per country and there's a few countries that have 3 and 4 players in the ranking, that's obvious selection of the 2 best. But now we see also that Russian players are suspended, not allowed to compete. That gives a lot of chances for the Rome Grand Prix to have a lot of people who are placed 40 or 42 in the list, not just the 32. Any thoughts on that?
It's a real pity that Russian players who are in many divisions, leading those divisions, are out of the race in a moment. But well, that's sad, but it's the reality. It gives the chance, as you said, to lower seeded athletes as well. So the full field just pushes upwards. This will sort out as soon as the situation gets normal again.
We've seen, talking again about the European Championships, especially because we are here in Europe. Of course, the same will happen for the Continental Championships. We see that the players didn't get too many competitions before. It was a very rush couple of months to qualify. Very hard events. The President's Cup was incredibly hard, with many Russians and Turkish players taking the top position. Some surprises there. Yes, the 49s, and had some interesting changes in the podium positions. We had Sofia Open, very well organized as usual, and there are a lot of events coming back to Bulgaria this year, like the multi-games later on, the Worlds in juniors and cadets. We have a lot of players coming to Europe to test events, but we also had some smaller events around the Pan American region, especially Puerto Rico Open, where just 4 or 5 countries competing, a lot of medals for the same countries. We have next week the Brazilian Open, the Rio Open, together with the Para Taekwondo Pan American Open. It's going to be quite a stretch, and registrations for the Europeans finish on the 18th of this month. So the last qualification for the countries that require qualifications is pretty much over.
Yeah, that's true. It was a very tight calendar, and if you missed one chance in some of the first events in this year, it's basically quite over, so not easy.
Yeah, the players only being allowed to make 40 points and getting 20 points for a gold medal in these events makes it also very interesting that now, after the first 2 months of events, the events will come way easier. The G tournament, Sweden, later on will have Austria, Luxembourg, Croatia will be much accessible events, maybe for the newcomers to try. A little bit too late for the European Championship qualification if the national teams require so, but maybe some of the easier events will be a good preparation for the teams. A lot of camps happening. We just had a few camps in Spain. Also in Greece is having some camps. Manchester is having big events. And I think the teams are getting really, really ready for a very short Olympic cycle because 3 years is just around the corner.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, those who missed the qualification for the Europeans will be preparing for Worlds and also for the Olympic cycle. Yeah.
I think performance analysis, it's more important than, as we mentioned a few episodes ago, and we're going to have a performance analyst coming into an episode later on, so we can discuss better systems, better qualification systems, especially for the national teams to select our players. Do you think the base, for example, we are in Austria, we see a lot of teams still very small because of COVID. We see a lot of players like Germany and other European countries that have the players having a lack of performance due to past COVID infections. Do you think is going to be also that predominant in the European Championships?
Well, some of the countries have strict rules regarding COVID. They follow those rules also very strictly. So they will have smaller teams or even no teams at all, which is a pity because we already lost Russia and most of Ukraine teams, and now also losing some other members due to COVID. It's really sad, but I think starting after this autumn, situation will normalize, at least at the COVID front, and we will have quite bigger teams, and also I think newcomers, because when you look at the age of many of the players now in the top ranking, they're quite old in the moment, quite getting old, so they will soon drop out. I don't think that specific players, I don't want to call any names, will last till Paris.
Well, we talk about COVID and about many people getting infected in these events, yet nobody is really talking about it. Is it something that is cultural, or people just don't take COVID-19 seriously anymore?
Well, as I said, there is some countries who strictly follow the rules. That is also the countries who cancel events. And there is other countries where the rules are not that strict, and they also don't follow the rules they have. They for example, they say our tournament is in a bubble, and then there is some normal tourists in the same hotel, which is not okay. It's a cultural thing, yes, but I think all the teams and all the organizers are happy that the events are happening, that they could do them, because there was times that they even couldn't do those events. So I think basically everyone is happy.
This podcast is supported by Hocken Dynamics. Hawken Dynamics believes that technology is most useful when it stays out of your way. That's why Hawken developed the world's first wireless force plate system with extreme usability. It is the quickest, easiest to use, and most robust solution on the market. It is trusted by all sports organizations large and small, as well as tactical, military, and rehabilitation environments around the globe. It's force testing in the palm of your hand. Here at Taekwondo Center, we use Hawken Dynamics to test and monitor our team. The cloud-based platform allows us to access data and publish a variety of reports on the go. My favorites are trend reports and, of course, weight reports, where I can monitor different metrics to view progress and identify performance indicators, or to compare weights to a baseline data range. I use it on a daily basis to identify readiness. A simple jumping test takes me less than a minute to assess the entire team. Having my own Hawken Dynamics force plates allows me to test reactive strengths, maximum strengths, rate of force development, asymmetry, and so much more. The real-time feedback on the app is useful not only for testing, but as a training tool, making it more accurate and at the same time more engaging for the athletes. If you are interested in learning more about Hawken Dynamics or getting your own, the team can be reached at info@hawkendynamics.com or on Instagram or Twitter @HawkenDynamics.
This podcast is sponsored by First Beat Sports. First Beat Sports combines the most comprehensive analytics in team sports with a customizable interface to support real-time monitoring, recovery monitoring, performance management, and much more. The result? Data-driven decisions that support your athletes and team training, recovery, and performance goals. First Beat Sports is trusted by professionals. Over 23,000 athletes representing over 1,000 teams around the world rely on the solution to train and plan with confidence on a team and individual level using HRV-based insights. For more information, please visit our website, firstbeat.com/sports.
When talking about Taekwondo training, we need to talk about Athlete Analyzer. Athlete Analyzer is the first Taekwondo-specific athlete monitoring system. It is used by both national teams, regional squads, and small clubs to maximize performance, prevent injuries, and communicate with both athletes and trainer teams. Athlete Analyzer is a cloud-based system with a friendly smartphone app. You can plan and monitor every aspect of your training, even when you are not in the gym with your team. The easy-to-use video analysis tool is not like anything you've seen. It helps you understand your athletes and even their opponents, making this app the only tool you need to manage your team. Before I used Athlete Analyzer, I spent an absurd amount of time in front of the computer, creating spreadsheets and using half a dozen software solutions. I have athletes in my center, but also abroad, and with Athlete Analyzer, it's much easier to communicate, plan, and monitor their development. Now that I have extra time, I can focus on what matters, training my athletes, and it still leaves me some room to do other stuff, like this Taekwondo podcast. Athlete Analyzer offers you a 2 weeks free trial. Visit them at athleteanalyzer.com to sign up, or click on the link in the episode's description. To get the most of your free trial, I recommend you first book a free personal demonstration with Nicholas. It will give you a great insight of what Athlete Analyzer has to offer you and your team. It is well worth the time.
You're listening to the Taekwondo Podcast. Now back to your hosts, Coach César Valentim and Peter Nestler.
Welcome back. We've been talking about the new rules and how they've been implemented in a couple of events now. In Belgium, it was only some of the rules and only for cadets and juniors. At the Spanish Open, it was for everyone. What is your opinion on that?
Well, basically, it's important for the teams to know when they would fight with what rules. So, if you bring out a new set of rules or if you amend some rules, you have to also come out with a date where you say, okay, starting from, 1st of May, everybody has to do new rules. That's it. No adaptations, no interpretations. Just tell them what is the new rules and do them. That's it. That's my opinion. Just be clear.
Well, we had, when the rules came out, some coaches, and we've even mentioned in another podcast from a friend when I was invited, that the players will adapt to the new rules and the coaches will definitely play with the new rules and make sure that you find the loopholes. For example, one of the examples we mentioned was if you have more than 5 points superiority on the first round and you win the first round, you just have to tie the second round, and then on the third round you just fall off, step out and make sure that you get disqualified and don't give points to the other more than the 4 comes Kamjons, and then in the end the tiebreaker would be the points summary, and of course with the having more points in the first round would give you, of course, the victory of the entire match. The WT came out in Spain that if you get the 4 penalties in the third round, you lose the entire match, which is not correct. They should invent maybe a pink card, a green card, something like that allows you that if you are disqualified in the third round for anti-sportsman or for avoiding the match, then you would lose the match. Because 4 Kamjons per round, even though the logic behind it that you get maximum of 3 Kamjons per round, total of 9 Kamjons, and it's the same as before, it's not exactly the same. It gives you 4 Kamjons very easy to make, especially with the clinch Kamjons, having the possibility of getting the referee to give you 4 Kamjons in a row. You fall out, you slip, and you get 2 Kamjons for clinching too long, and you lose the match, and that's not the same as avoiding the match. So the rules need to be polished. They need to be a little rewritten, a little bit adapted, and also those are the rules as they are. And the second thing is the interpretation of the rules. I can tell you that in Spain there was 2 different Taekwondo. There was the Taekwondo for the females that were active, they were kicking, and they were, yes, a little bit of leg cancelling that was, according to the rules, no longer allowed, but they were still doing, and the referees were still allowing. Some clinch kicking in the back of the head that were still okay. But in the male divisions, there was too much pushing and grabbing. It was awful to watch. It looked a little bit like other combat sports, more of wrestling and grabbing and takedown sports, and actually a Taekwondo match. Too little action, a lot of grabbing and ugly matches. And that's something that the rules introduced that were the players were afraid of falling out, were afraid of stepping outside, so they were playing a little bit dirty. And to be fair, I don't think that's the intention behind the rules. When they tried to make the combat sports a little more active, they managed to do it with the best of 3. The first rounds are much more exciting than before, and it's also much faster rounds and much faster tournaments if the 12-point cap is reached in the first 2 rounds, because it allows the event organizers to plan better, allows the boring and very difference level matches to be over very fast, but not waiting for the point cap only in the end of the second round, only in the end of the 4 minutes fight. So yes, it is an advantage, but the rest, the interpretation, the kicking on the clinch, it's something that was still very ugly to see when it comes to the rules. The other thing that it comes, it's the interpretation of the referees. Most of the referees in the same court had different interpretations of the Kamjons, and the very good referees, and there were some very, very good referees at the Spanish Open, they understood that the one staying in the clinch for pushing, for grabbing, because they wanted to get the Kamjon and also get the Kamjon for the other ones, were playing a little dirty. And some players that wanted to leave the clinch and were forced to stay in the clinch should not be penalized. Some referees were very smart. Some referees noticed that. They gave the Kamjon only for the one that was really trying to stay in the clinch, not to the other one. But most of them didn't do that. And a lot of power for the referees. The other part, as you can imagine, was the headshots. Since the referees can now, they don't have to count to ask for the card. They have to count, to ask for the card. But the coaches can ask for any contact on the helmet. And I think that's something that we are assuming that is wrong. It's the PSS system. We're assuming on our rules that the PSS, the protective scoring system, has faults. What do you think about that?
Well, that's a big problem from the beginning on. The PSS on the head is working much worse than the one on the body, even though the one on the body is not perfect, but it gives us quite a reliable situation of what the match is. Not so the head one, which there is ghost kicks, there is very, very light contact with releasing points. So it would be better to improve the PSS for the head than to open the rules for IVR, because it takes more time, it gives more uncertainty than before. We know that the video replay systems, the systems are good, but not the video cameras. So I would improve the PSS head system. That's it. The
rules say that you are now allowed as a coach, at least the interpretation that was enforced in Spain says that you can ask for a video replay if the helmet did not score. The question is, that's assuming that the electronic system has a problem. Yet, some coaches were asking for the video replay for face kicks, because that's not scored by the PSS, and that's not what's on the rules. The rules say that you can only ask for the video replay if you actually hit on the helmet and the helmet didn't score. Yet the system should say you are allowed to ask, or the rules should say you are allowed to ask for the video jury if you hit on a face and the helmet didn't score, not on the helmet and the helmet didn't score, because then it's assuming that the system fails. Makes the matches, of course, much more fair. As a coach, I like to use the card if the helmet didn't score, but am I allowed to use the card if it was on the face? Because the rule says only if the helmet didn't score. And so it's a little bit of a gray area. I should be allowed to ask for the video replay for whole head kicks, not only if the helmet didn't score. And some referees allowed you, and the video replay juries allowed you to ask for a face kicks, and others didn't, because the rules actually say that it's only if the helmet didn't score, and if you hit the face, not the helmet, then it should not be a point.
Yeah, that's true. Make it easier to avoid those things.
Well, we have until June, and then in July we have the Worlds for juniors and cadets, and having the rules before that and applying the rules and enforcing the rules, practicing the rules, it's going to be quite interesting. There's a referee seminar scheduled in Baku now in May, 1 week before the European Championships. Let's see what it comes out of this seminar. Do you know anyone who is going?
Well, to be honest, I think there will be quite many people going there, but I will focus as a coach more on the rules. So you're right, there will be changes till Worlds, and I hope they will be clearly communicated so that everyone knows.
And that's a little bit of a job of the referee directors on each country. As you know, I have my international referee license for Girugi, but I'm not considering going to Baku. It's too expensive. It's a little bit out of my budget. And since I'm an active coach, not an active referee, it makes this budget not on my plans. Hopefully I can organize that, and the referee director from Austria goes there and then gives me the feedback. If not from Austria, from other countries, there's a lot of international referees that will go there. I hope someone can share us some of the interpretations from the referee director. I'm pretty sure that Emily Morris was going to make a very interesting seminar. She's a very good educator, very good Taekwondo professional, and I really wish I was there to watch it. But again, costs are a little bit prohibitive. 1 week in Baku, 10 days before the European Championships. As a coach, it's a little bit hard to decide should I go or should I stay? And the question is, if you go there, is there anyone that is going there and shares the knowledge with us? Probably we should have a referee invited in our podcast after the seminar in Baku.
That's a good idea. Let's do it.
All right. So thank you, Peter. It was a pleasure being here with you again and with everyone who is listening. This was the Taekwondo Podcast. If you haven't already, listen to our other episodes that are available wherever you listen to your podcasts. We are releasing new episodes every Tuesday. Stay tuned, subscribe to the podcast, leave us a positive review, and share it with your friends. See you next time.
You've been listening to the Taekwondo Podcast, keeping the fans, coaches, and high-performance athletes up to date with the latest news and trends on Olympic Taekwondo. Your host, Coach César Valentim, has almost 20 years of experience with high-performance Taekwondo and has worked all around the world as a Taekwondo trainer. Peter Nestler has been teaching Taekwondo for more than 20 years, and he's currently one of the top referees in Europe. We hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on Instagram at Taekwondo Podcast, on Facebook at Taekwondo Cast, and the website taekwondopodcast.com. See you next time.